There is a profound stillness that occurs when a man finally decides to stop explaining his worth and begins to embody it through silence. This transition is not a performance. It is not an act of aggression or a childish attempt at manipulation. Rather, it is the highest form of emotional maturity. In the world of modern relationship dynamics, the common reaction to a loss of interest or a decrease in respect is to chase harder. Men are often conditioned to believe that if they just find the right words, if they just send that one final message, or if they just prove their loyalty one more time, the balance will be restored. But Stoic philosophy tells us the opposite. The moment you begin to chase something that is actively moving away from you, you have already lost. You have surrendered your internal citadel to the external whims of another person. By choosing to walk away with calm confidence, you are not admitting defeat. You are reclaiming your sovereignty. You are stating through the language of action that your time, your attention, and your presence are finite resources that require a reciprocal investment. This is the moment when the psychological weight shifts. Most people are accustomed to predictable patterns of pursuit. When that pattern is broken by a man who values his own peace more than a forced connection, the perceived value of that man begins to transform. This is the art of dignified absence. We must understand that attraction is not governed by logic, but by emotional and psychological triggers. One of the most powerful triggers is the realization that something valuable is no longer accessible. When you are always there, always available, and always trying to fix things, your value becomes a commodity. It becomes like the air we breathe. Essential, perhaps, but entirely taken for granted because it is always present. But when you remove that presence, when you walk away because the terms of engagement no longer align with your self-respect, you become a rare resource. The Stoic path requires a radical shift in perspective. You must view your life as a mission that continues with or without the approval of others. This script will explore the macro-conceptual shift from desperation to direction. It will analyze why the fear of loss is a more potent motivator than the hope of gain. We will look at how silence creates a vacuum that the other person's mind is forced to fill with curiosity, memory, and eventual reevaluation. A man who can walk away is a man who cannot be controlled, and a man who cannot be controlled is a man who demands a natural, visceral form of respect. This isn't about games. This is about the fundamental law of human nature. We value what we have to earn, and we neglect what is given too freely. To master this, one must first master the self. One must build a life that is so fulfilling and so grounded in purpose that the departure of any single person, while perhaps regrettable, is never catastrophic. This is the Stoic fortress. When you have this, walking away is not a tactic. It is the logical conclusion of a man who knows his price. Consider the words of Marcus Aurelius, who reminded us that the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injustice. In the context of a relationship where you are being undervalued, the best response is not to argue, not to scream, and not to seek validation. The best response is to simply no longer be there. Your absence is the only thing that can teach the lesson your words failed to convey. It is the silence that allows the other person to hear their own thoughts, to feel the weight of the space you once occupied, and to realize the magnitude of what has been lost. When you step back, you allow the psychological phenomenon of the Zeigarnik effect to take hold. This is the human tendency to remember uncompleted tasks or interrupted experiences better than completed ones. By walking away without a dramatic finale, you leave the story unfinished. You leave a question mark where there used to be a period. That question mark will haunt the mind of the person you left behind. They will wonder what you are doing, who you are with, and most importantly, why you were able to let go so easily. This suggests a level of options and a depth of character that they had previously overlooked. It suggests that you were never as dependent on them as they believed. This revelation is often the catalyst for a total reversal in attraction. But for this to work, it must be genuine. You cannot walk away while looking back over your shoulder. You must walk away with the intent of never returning unless the conditions change fundamentally. This requires the discipline of Epictetus, who taught that we must distinguish between what is in our control and what is not. You cannot control her feelings. You cannot control her interest. You can only control your feet and your focus. When you move your focus back to your own growth, your own fitness, your own career, and your own tribe, you radiate a different kind of energy. You go from being a consumer of attention to a producer of value. This is the shift that increases your perceived value in the eyes of the world. It is the quiet power of a man who knows he is enough. The world reacts to your self-assessment. If you treat yourself as an option, she will treat you as an option. If you treat yourself as a non-negotiable priority, the world will eventually align with that reality. The psychological trigger of scarcity is a biological imperative. We are wired to want what is hard to get. By walking away, you remove yourself from the easy category and place yourself in the premium category. This isn't vanity. It is an understanding of human architecture. We must also recognize that by walking away, you are protecting your own emotional health. Staying in a place where you are not wanted is a slow poison for the soul. It erodes your confidence, dampens your ambition, and makes you a smaller version of yourself. Stoicism is about expansion. It is about reaching your highest potential. A man on his path cannot afford to be weighed down by the anchor of someone else's indecision. The moment you walk away, you cut that anchor. You feel the immediate lightness of freedom. You realize that your happiness was never her responsibility. It was always yours. This realization makes you more attractive because it removes the burden of neediness from the interaction. A woman wants a man who is a mountain, not a man who is a shadow. A mountain stands tall regardless of the weather. A shadow disappears when the light changes. Be the mountain. Let the storms come and go. Let the people come and go. Your foundation is made of rock, not of sand. This script will dive deep into the specific psychological stages a woman goes through when a man walks away. Stage 1, relief or indifference. This is where most men fail. They expect an immediate reaction. But when it doesn't come, they panic and reach out, destroying the mystery. You must endure this stage with total silence. Stage 2, curiosity. She starts to notice the lack of pings, the lack of likes, the lack of presence. She wonders if you are angry, but more importantly, she wonders if you have moved on. Stage 3, re-evaluation. She begins to compare the void you left with the reality of her other options. She remembers the good things, the stability, the strength, the loyalty that she took for granted. Stage 4, the reach out. This is the test. Will you fold or will you maintain your stoic frame? This is where the power is truly reclaimed. You must realize that your value is not a floating currency that depends on her mood. Your value is a gold standard, backed by your character and your discipline. When you walk away, you are protecting the integrity of that gold. You are saying that the vault is closed to those who do not bring a matching key of respect and investment. This is the only way to build a relationship of equals. Anything else is just a slow crawl toward resentment. By the end of this exploration, you will understand that walking away is the ultimate act of love. Love for yourself. And ironically, it is only through that self-love that you become a man worth loving by others. This is the paradox of the Stoic. The less you need, the more you attract. The more you are willing to lose, the more you have to gain. It is time to stop the chase and start the journey. The journey back to your own center. The journey toward a version of yourself that is so solid, so grounded, and so valuable that you never have to ask twice for what you deserve. You simply walk until you find the place where you are celebrated, not just tolerated. This is the way of the wise. This is the power of the Stoic walk. When you embody this, you don't just change your relationships, you change your entire life. You become the architect of your own destiny, the captain of your own soul. The silence you leave behind is not empty. It is full of the echoes of a man who respects himself enough to leave. And that is the most magnetic force in the universe.